Hi everyone, Nathan Ott, Chief Polisher here at the gcindex, and today I'm joined by Judith Germain from the Maverick Paradox. Jude is a GCologist, here, has been for quite some time, and her organisation, the Maverick Paradox, is a GC partner. The GC Index is a wholly partner-centered organisation, and quite frankly, it's been on this journey. If you know anything about the GC Index journey, since really 2017 when we launched, the whole ethos and growth of the GC has been driven by our GCologists, our GC partners, and of course their interactions with their clients, which is wonderful and keeps us driving along. So today I just wanted to have a chat with you, Jude. It's been a while since we've really caught up properly, but I'd love to understand really your view of what it's like being a GC partner and a GCologist, because you've been with us pretty much very early days, if not the beginning of the GC Index journey. So it'd be great to hear from you.
Yeah, thanks, Nathan. So there's two questions there, really. One is a GC partner and GCologist. So I'll tackle the first. I think being a GC partner is amazing because unlike a lot of other organisations that you become accredited to, it's really focused on helping the GCologist and making sure that they're continuously learning, continuously developing. And one of the things that I think is at fault a lot is that you can become accredited to something, but the organisation does not continue to develop the people it's accredited to. So therefore their ability, that GCologist or that practitioner's ability to actually still deliver the right thing starts to wane. And what I like about GC Index is regular accreditation and re-accreditation. So you don't do it once and then you go, that's it. It's done every couple of years just to make sure that you're up to speed with the new things and your practice, your individual practice is getting better. So I love that. And great, and you're a great organisation to partner with and work with as well. And I think what I like about being a GCologist is, my background is HR. I really am skeptical about all these kind of personality profiles and all these things because of the way they're normed. But what I like about this is that my focus is on about enhancing leadership capability, about impact and influence. And this is a measure for an organisation about how it does impact. And it's not sold as do this one profile, your life is better. It's an integrated system. And I love the fact that I can design integrated solutions for the people I work with.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful because, anyone knows anything about the GC Index, when we did a lot of research for 4+ years before we actually launched the GC Index, and you never know, if your baby is good looking when you launch it out to the world, right? And so obviously we're very grateful to a number of our early adopters with this because we don't know if we found something here, and clearly we have. And I think what's really quite exciting is that we're constantly learning. So that bit that you've sort of mentioned about the constant learning of the people that get accredited, the GCologists, and the constant learning, well, that drives our learning as well because we often say 95% of the ways the GC Index can be used, we don't even know yet, right? And so, it's people like yourself, companies like yours as GC partners that are working with their clients to keep going, oh, it can be used with this and it can be used with that. And actually, this is where it can add the value. And like you say, it's an integrated system. And I think that's wonderful. And I think it's a bit of a challenge for us, to be honest, because we do move so quickly because we're listening to all these updates. It's quite hard sometimes for GCologists to keep up. So yeah, that constant learning bit is something we're really focused on. And it's, to be fair, it's quite challenging for us to continuously to do that. So would that be your advice then for a GCologist? Well, just to keep updated with the learnings because it keeps moving quickly?
What's different about this system is that it's incredibly nuanced and it's much more complex than it first seems. So again, in line with Maverick leadership principles, with the continuous learning and continuously attacking and analysing and scrutinising things, that's what you need to do because, you can go on the sessions and say, I don't agree. we've had the conversations.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree. I
Yeah.
think it does this, and you can genuinely have that conversation where people agree or disagree with you, or you have a point there. We're going to go back and run some back. That's what I love about it. We can run some back checks on some stuff and see whether the hypothesis that you've just put forward is actually real or not. And I think that in itself is quite unusual. But I don't think anybody who's a practitioner of anything that refuses to continue to learn will ever reach mastery. And I think if we're working with clients, we should be, because no one can achieve mastery, but we should be on the path of mastery. Otherwise, we do a disservice to the people we interact with.
And the gcindex real research was come from the world of real life business organisation. It wasn't something we just dreamt up in a university or within academia. And I think that's the bit. It's this real world experience of GC partners, their clients using the gcindex and leveraging it and finding out these new ways, these nuances and stuff. I mean, you've worked with a number of clients using the gcindex. What have been some of the themes? What have been some of the aha moments? What have been some of the sort of the great reactions that you've had, and how it's helped you either build stronger relations with the clients, help clients solve their problems? But what's been some real world experience for you working with organizations?
Yes, interesting one, because it's so complex. I guess here at the Maverick Paradox, what we do is we literally bespoke everything. So we don't do anything off the shelf. Yeah. So someone comes to us, we really analyze what the problem is. And quite often it's not the problem that they say it is, it's something further back. And then we define a solution. So the gcindex has helped with that by enabling us, for example, when we're running that culture change programs, to really look at like the top team and the teams beneath and say, well, this is the culture that you say that you have, but this is the culture that you really have. Now, how do we look at your collective impact and how do we align others? And I think some of the things that clients have said to us is that we have changed their way of responding to things that are changing. So one of the things that we do a lot of is help people change the way that they think. So a future-proof leadership, and the gcindex could be an essential part of that.
Yeah.
And also, I see a lot here. You have a lot of silo mentality, especially in top teams and senior leadership teams. And it's agnostic. So you can actually say, when you get together as a collective, this is how you can interact. This is how you can support, help each other. And I think that the aha moments, I think I had one organisation and their aha moments was, now we looked at our collective impact and what we possibly can do, and you've shown us what we're likely to act in when we're stressed. I recognise now that we are acting in our stressed point consistently. Yeah. And it was like, yes. And I was able to show that's you and this is your team underneath. And this is why there's conflict, because this is how the team is reacting to you in this situation. So it made a huge difference to them.
Yeah, and just to probe you there, what makes the difference? We often get a lot of feedback going. It just gives us a language and a framework to have those sort of depersonalized, business-focused or team-focused. So the focus is more on what do we want to do, and then how does our collective or individual impact get in the way or help us to do that? I mean, is that sort of your experience in terms of it gives you this sort of baseline where everyone feels safe to have those conversations to drive the outcomes they need, or is it a bit more than that or not that? Just so I'm hear from your experience.
It strips out personality, right? So say, for example, you could have someone who's a high game changer, lots and lots of ideas, maybe they're low on strategy. So they may struggle to articulate what they mean, but they can clearly see it.
Yeah.
And they know how to make the idea better. But what's missing is that not sure how to implement it, not sure how to describe what's required. And then and typically you can see sometimes lots of CEOs in that space. And then you've got, they say the CFO is a strategist going, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why are you doing this? Whereas you strip out the personality and you can actually say, as that strategist, oh, I just need to understand from a strategic point of view what it is that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't become John and Dave don't like each other. It becomes the proclivities that are talking. Yeah. Or because everybody then knows this is what that person is likely to respond. So that's why it can be great way to avoid or distill the conflicts. So the conflict that you have are good conflicts about how to improve things rather than personality conflicts, because it's not the personality talking. And I think the other thing as well is that certainly we help people talk the other language. So when we're actually going through with them, whether we're mentoring or training or consulting, we'll say, this is how you speak. So before you tell them as an implementer, you need to implement this. And that strategist is sitting there, I don't know why you want to implement, we haven't decided where we're going. You can talk to them as a strategist before you speak to them as an implementer.
Yeah.
And then that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it's that others awareness. This is, yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely right. I mean, I think I can understand that dysfunction in teams. I mean, obviously, we're trying to work out dysfunction in teams. The only language and framework we've had historically has been personality, which, we're not undermining personalities, and the benefits that it can bring. But, when your only framework is personality and trying to achieve business objectives, it can get in the way. Often before the gcindex, people probably thought that Nathan was a difficult bugger, never satisfied, and and everything was not very good and super critical. Whereas actually now they can go, well, polishers are rarely satisfied, difficult buggers, super critical, and that all of a sudden distills it from me, or your game changer example. They might be called delirious, dreamers, unrealistic, which becomes quite a personal attack almost, in some ways. Whereas you frame that in the notion of yeah, they're a game changer. And so when we can draw upon them when we need original stuff, but they're going to need support in, as you say, strategizing, implementing and such. I mean, I've had a look at your LinkedIn as well. You get some quite lovely comments from some of your clients around using the gcindex, which is nice at an individual level. And how do your clients sort of feedback to you around the using the gcindex? Where have they seen the biggest benefit? Where have they seen the realization for them, whether that's a tangible ROI business benefit or just, something that's either anecdotal, or because, everything that counts can't always be counted, but we'd love to see how.
Okay.
Any feedback from the clients?
As I said before, everything's integrated. So we've used it for leadership development programs and consulted around strategy, helped with recruitment. So the replies are different depending on what we're doing, but I would say the common theme is like one client says, actually you've helped me bond with my team in a way I didn't think it was possible. Another person has said, I've always not liked X, but now I get it. It's just because we're diametrically different, and now I understand where they're going. I'm going to try again from that perspective. Other people have said that understanding how they work together in a collective way has demonstrated why their culture is more toxic than they believed it to be.
Yeah.
And also how inefficient their operating systems are. So it's not unusual, for example, to work with a team and say, do you know what? Because of the way you, as a team, you're fairly unbalanced, here, let's have a operating procedure, as it were, around certain things. So we've had, I've worked with an organisation, had a team, quite a large team, that individually they were great, but together not so great. And it said, right, so this is how you are going to work with others. So they were a particular department, and what we said was, rather than constantly working with the exec team every time they ask you all these random stuff, yes, let's use this as a methodology of checking. So before you go and implement the strategy that they've given you, let's interrogate the strategy by asking these type of questions.
Yeah.
Because the teams that they were working with, was a HR department, they were just throwing stuff at them and nothing was getting finished, and then they were getting blamed. It was like, waste, just stop. So we integrated that in a specific Maverick leadership program that helped them to enhance their ability to influence others.
Yeah, and I think that connection with that, like the system or the objective of what's this team here to do? What's this team fundamentally? What you paying this team to do on a daily basis? Do you know what I mean? If you can start there and work backwards, because often we get leaders go, I want my team to communicate better, or I want my team to have psychological safety, or whatever it might be. And you sort of go, well, why?
Why?
What's the point? Do you know what I mean? So they communicate better, but for what purpose? Do you know? So they can go out and have lunch together or whatever. No, but if you say, actually, no, we need to achieve this, i.e., deliver this strategy, grow the company, deliver a project, embed a different type of culture, whatever the end game is, then you can work back, and that so you can align the gcindex is built on that business model. You also can align what they need to do. Then you can work backwards and go, right, the team need to communicate better so that we can achieve this. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of linkage, which I think is quite helpful.
You know, that made me think. So I worked with one company where what they wanted to see was the strengths of proclivities and the shadows of those proclivities. So you looked at the I'll say strategist and say this is the strength strategist, but what happens if it's just strategist? And actually how we did it there is that everybody obviously had their profiles, well, it's the collective impact, split the teams up and actually got people to speak from the shadow and the strengths of the different proclivities in a mixed group. And then when they sat down and started looking at it, they were like, oh, yeah, that explains a lot.
Yeah. And you're right, because it's not about, it's about that approach to work, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? I think that's the bit. It's about approach to work, which is the sort of the difference bit. It's not just, I know they're an extrovert or an introvert, which again is useful. I'm not saying it's not, but it doesn't really help you understand how they're going to, personality doesn't help necessarily predict how they're going to approach work or the type of work. Whereas, and it's obviously much easier to go, look, I don't know, John, Susie, whatever, is a big game changer. You're a big implementer.
Can I add something?
Go and work together. Do you know what I mean? And that's much easier. Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, if people have done a personality profile, this can work in conjunction, so it can add another layer to it. So 100%. Because they're measuring different things. So one thing's about personality. So if you've done DISC or Myers-Briggs or something like that, you can still layer it with the impact. And I think the difference is that if you've had a personality profile, you're often not keen to share it with others, right? I have yet to see someone do a gcindex profile and has not shared it with, because it's almost like, oh my gosh, let me see, because people can immediately see, if I knew how that person's profile was, I know how to interact with them better. So people they're desperate. So even if you go to a team and they say, we're not going, so you sometimes go in and you're doing like a whole organization and the exec team will say, we want to see our teams, but we're not sharing ours. By the time we finish talking to them, they're like, right, we need to share it with everybody so we can get better results. Yeah. Nobody wants to, that's what I love about it. No one wants to keep it to themselves.
Yeah. And that's actually quite an interesting shift for a lot of organizations, because historically it's been around protecting people's data, can't share data. But actually it's like, no, we all want to share this, right? We all want to, and that's really quite powerful, but also we still sometimes butt heads with the notion that, oh no, it's individual data and it's private, but which it is. But you're right, we don't start seeing organizations seeing the power when they actually start sharing it, because it liberates people, really, doesn't it?
It is liberating, and it can add an extra nuance. So in one organization I was doing quite an extensive a couple of actually quite extensive programs, and what was interesting, these programs included a coaching element. And as the managers, senior leaders were talking about, I don't know, I've got this project, I'm doing this thing, but I've reached a but, and you do the usual coaching things, but you're saying, who are the key people involved? To tell you, have a look at their profiles and you go, okay, how are you communicating this? No, how about communicating this way? So you're actually doing it based from the profiles. And then when they come back, they're like, oh, that made all the difference. Because now that I'm speaking their language, they're listening to my language, and now we're working well together.
Yeah, but I think it's that link to work, though. It's not just, I know about that person. I know it's a little bit like, you probably understand the gcindex about someone if you've worked with them for a period of time. Do you know what I mean? So I've worked for about a year, and subconsciously you'll know, well, I know what to expect of Jude and I know what to expect of Nathan. But you'll have a lot of butting of heads along the way, challenges to get to that learning. I think what we're seeing is that actually, with that profile, it just shortens that gap from a year, 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is, to get to know how someone works, to instantly. Do you know what I mean? It's that, and we're seeing that a lot from an ROI perspective, which is great. Look, I mean, we can talk all day. We know that about this stuff, but I will bring us to a close. But you've mentioned some sort of your views of to existing. If we've got an existing GC or GC partners listening to this, you sort of mentioned just keep learning, keep going with the team, keep joining, keep learning, and all that good stuff because it's moving quickly, and keep the learning. If someone's watching this and they're not a GC partner yet, and they're thinking about, oh, actually this gcindex thing might be useful for my clients or for my work or embedding into my current work. Any advice, support, recommendations, or tell them to steer clear of it, of a wide berth? Any sort of thoughts back to those types of people?
Well, first of all, I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody on that. So that's
Okay.
the point. And I think that if you're, let me think, because of the extensive areas that we're in, crossing from consultancy right through to training and mentoring and the rest of it, I've yet to reach a scenario where it's impossible to use the gcindex. So I'm not saying that we use it, because we don't use it with every solution that we provide, but you certainly could use it with every solution provided. It's just a case of whether the client wants to or not. And I think that if you're in a situation where you are serving others, the insights that you can get from the gcindex when you integrate it with your other services makes it a non-brainer not to become an accredited GC partner, I think, because in some respects, it's a bit of a disservice to the organisations and the individuals that you work with, because the impact is so great.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I can't really say much more to that. Of course, I'm extraordinarily biased, of course, so I don't want to come across that way. Look, Jude, thank you very much. I mean, it must be since 2018 now. We're getting on for over 6 years with us. So you've seen us, evolve and make mistakes and build and do wonderful things and everything in between. But just want to say thanks so much for your continued support, and we love having obviously Maverick Paradox as a GC partner and you as a GCologist. And yeah, let's see what the next 6 years brings. I'm sure it'll look very, very different again. And again, keep pushing us, keep challenging us, because it gets us all to a better place. So thanks again, and yeah, I'll speak to you soon, I'm sure.
Brilliant. Thanks, Nathan.